I guess one of us has to talk, right? I guess that's me. I was so enamored with the fact that we started doing video that I was just staring at myself on the screen.
You're
This
like,
is the
oh,
2-1 for the win podcast. My name is Josh Mazur, joined as always by Mike Sanders, the lovely co-host that I have every week. Now in color, in video, right in front of you. You can see our lovely faces or ugly faces, depending on how you feel about redheads, I guess. We're here to talk about Mavs playoffs. We figured what better time to switch to the video medium to put our faces live on the internet than to preview what could be an epic performance in the playoffs for our favorite team. So, with that being said, hop right into it. Mike, you were disappointed at me because I posted my prediction before we even got on this podcast. But before I say what mine was, just in case those people don't follow me on Twitter, you say it first this time. What is your prediction for the Mavs against the Clippers? Go.
well, before the prediction, I have to just express my disappointment in words.
Okay.
All of this week, I've had my prediction in my head. I know exactly how the series is going to go. I've seen the vision, but I kept it from Twitter because I wanted to keep it for this podcast and keep it sacred.
Well,
and little do I know, 6 hours before we record, I say Josh Mazur pop up on the timeline saying Mavs in 5.
You know, I have a
Josh, you just at least you are admitting that you have a problem.
I do. I have a prediction problem. Once it's in my head, I can't not just spew it. You're lucky that it lasted that long because it was really eating at me since probably Monday. So I was,
wow,
maybe even
Sunday.
That. Yeah, it could have been Sunday. I was like right in the middle of church, and I just was like, Mavs in 5. I could feel it. I don't, take that however you will, but I was in church and I got Mavs in 5. So,
well, I can guarantee you, whatever day that you thought Mavs in 5, the day before that is whenever I thought.
Oh, okay, Mavs yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
The exact day before.
Sometimes it takes me a little longer to count to 5. So,
well, I'm the
math problems. You're the math guy. I'm not. I am definitely the art guy. That's why my camera looks better, and
I have this little this little beacon of light shining down.
Yeah. So Mavs in 5. You say Mavs in 5. Give me your reasons. Maybe they're not the same as mine.
Key reasons is I think momentum from the regular season is a big thing. Dallas post All-Star break was basically the complete opposite of what the Clippers were post All-Star break in terms of vibes, winning, chemistry, and just overall team effort. I think that's going to carry over. I don't think it has, to me, it doesn't have anything to do with Kawhi Leonard's availability or lack thereof. I don't think Dallas ends up sweeping, even if Kawhi were to miss all 4 games. I just think the Clippers are good enough to steal at least one. But for Dallas, I just don't think they're the same team at all that played against the Clippers early in the season that was competitive with them in a couple of the 3 games. And I think Dallas is just in a class above, personally. And I'm being a gentleman by doing a gentleman's sweep for them. And I respect Kawhi Leonard and the lack thereof of playoff Paul George to give them one game. But I think, and I'll tell you game by game. Game 1, Dallas win. Game 2, Clippers win. And then win for Dallas, 4-1.
Okay. See, I wasn't going to do a game-by-game prediction, but I did say Mavs in 5. Some of the same reasons as you. I do think that the vibes for the Clippers are just way off. They don't feel You can feel it in the fandom, which is not normal. Just going into the playoffs, all of a sudden, Clippers fans are like, "Yeah, it's probably not our year." So if that's coming from the people that have watched them night in, night out, it's weird to have a team so high in the standings. They do you got 50 plus wins for this Clippers squad. They've got three future Hall of Famers uh, on the team, in Kawhi, PG,
Three?
and James Harden. Who? Yeah.
You don't think Russell Westbrook's a Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah, four. I totally. This is a point that I all week I've been saying four, and then completely forgot about Russell Westbrook before just now.
Last year you forgot about Frank, and then this year you forgot about Russ.
a little a little different, I would say, a little different. But yeah, no, they do. Uh, Four future Hall of Famers, corrected. Good, totally. All four of them are. I wasn't trying to leave anybody out. Um, and to have that many on your team, you know who it reminds me of? Now this is it reminds me of those Carl Malone, Gary Payton Lakers, where they were just like, all right, let's just get all these guys in. Now, that being said, these guys are not like as far past their prime as Gary and Carl were. It's weird to say Carl's name without saying his last name. Just call him Carl. But to have all four of them working simultaneously is like, we watched it. We watched how hard it was to get Luca and Kyrie, these two epic talents, to finally like just work together. And it feel like right now, and this is part of the reason why I have them going Mavs in 5, is that they look seamless. Finally, it took them, a season and a half and some to really look like what they look like right now. But they do. They look dangerous. They are dangerous. They are the highest scoring duo in the league. Um, so I can't imagine having to do that with four players of immense talent who also need the ball and also need to do their thing, even though they are players like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, where they uh, don't necessarily have the ego. But I think that one guy over there definitely does, and James Harden. Uh, and he's probably arguably now the one that's as far further past his prime than the other ones. Hit or miss. One's night. It's back and forth between him and Russell Westbrook, I would say. Um, but watching them, they do not look like a team that has four future Hall of Famers. They look like a team that almost doesn't know how to play together. It's like a lot of talent and still don't know how to play together. And I don't know. Let's hope, fingers crossed and knock on wood, that all of a sudden they don't just walk on the court and go, "Oh, we get it." Like, but right now, they don't, and you can see three losses to end the season. Um, Before that, they weren't looking good. The Mavericks had two losses to end the season, but in those two games, they didn't matter at all, and they weren't playing anybody. So, um, yeah, that's why with all that, it just looks like Mavs are running downhill against this first round matchup. Pair that with the fact that I know Luca wants to slay this dragon of the Clippers in his past, where they have beaten these teams twice. He said this week in his interviews that the difference between this team now and the teams that got beat by the Clippers are it's Kai. Kai is the difference. Um, but I would also say that the role players behind Kai are the bigger difference, because guys like Dante Exum, uh, Derek Jones Jr., having two viable centers. And it looks like Derek Lively is going to play. He was dunking in practice the other day. I've got to see, even though, man, what a hard week. For several different reasons. And I would not at all hold it against him if he was like, I can't do it. But I also don't think he's that kind of guy. So I expect to see him back up Gafford. All of these guys, every move they made this season has been to beat a team like the Clippers and to play in the playoffs and win. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking for a good old-fashioned ass whooping of the Clippers and really show what these two monsters in Mavs jerseys that we have in Kai and Luka can do.
Yeah, what we saw, if you kind of compare things to 2021, which that's a completely different Luka than there is now. He's a more well-rounded player. He was probably in the best just basketball shape of his career, possibly in those playoffs, and just individual scoring talent. He's maybe a little bit better now because he's just more well-rounded as a three-point shooter consistently and a free throw shooter. I think he's shot like 61% from the free throw line as well in that series, which he shot a career high 78.6% this year. Luka's going to be motivated. Kyrie is better than any other player that was combined, basically the entire team in 2021. Kristaps Porzingis was a pumpkin. Jalen Brunson averaged like less than 10 minutes per game in the series, I think, or basically did nothing in the series. This was before Brunson came onto the scene as a consistent player. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., which probably the best version of Tim Hardaway Jr. that the Mavs have seen that year, was your second best player. And Kyrie, or any version of Kyrie Irving that you've seen in your entire life, is better than that version of Tim Hardaway Jr. I could stop right there, and I could say that that's the reason that Dallas is going to win.
Yeah.
And the fact that I could name off 10 more reasons, rat-a-tat-tat, right off the bat right now, I think it makes it pretty convincing that Dallas is the better team at this point in time. Before the All-Star break, kind of the middle part of the year, the Clippers, I think, went on like a 25-6 run, like a couple of weeks after Harden came in, and they were really gelling. They did look like a team that wanted to play together. Everyone was fitting into their spots. But once a couple of injuries happened, once the rotation got different, once there was kind of some instability, you saw the team just kind of fell flat. The defensive effort fell flat, and the Mavericks are arguably the best offense in the league whenever they're engaged. And
healthy.
And lackadaisical defense is not going to cut it against the Mavericks. And a lackadaisical offense into a lackadaisical defense, either way. And the Dallas defense can now hold up against the Clippers team down low. I don't know. We just saw tonight, if you watched the Heat and 76ers game, we watched Nick Batum just tear apart the Heat from those corner threes and wing threes of just drive, kick, rotation, kick it out to Batum. He hits a wide open three. We saw that like 50 times combined between him and Marcus Morris in 2021. And that defense was not the 2022 defense that went to the Western Conference Finals. That defense was below average.
Yeah.
This defense is arguably just as good as, or if better than 2022 defense. So you look at it, better offense in 2021, better defense. I would argue that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are worse than they were in 2021. They're older. They're less healthy than they were at that point in time. Kawhi got hurt the next series after against the Utah Jazz in 2021. And then I'm not scared of Amir Coffey. This could be famous last words. And 12 days. I'm not scared of Amir Coffey, Daniel Tice, PJ Tucker, Terrence Mann, I'm not scared of these guys. And
I mean, they can do. I will say, because I don't want to be.
I'll take it.
I don't want to be there.
I,
There are some guys on this team that can throw haymakers.
Yeah,
Terrence Mann can do some stuff.
He can do some stuff. That's the best thing you can say about his basketball game.
He's like, none of those are. I don't think their role players are as good as the Mavericks role players. I don't think their superstars are as good as the Mavs superstars right now. A couple of years ago is a different story.
Yeah.
There was a reason those Mavs teams didn't win against those Clippers teams a couple of years ago, and as much as the Clippers beat reporters have been really making a deal out of Mavs fans make excuses for those losses, but those excuses were real reasons. Kristaps Porzingis didn't want to be here for one of those series. He's even admitted to it. And then they just weren't as good the year before.
Boban was your rim protector.
Yeah, you cannot win a series against a team that at that point had two future Hall of Famers and good role players. Those aren't excuses to me. So it's weird to see that a national syndicated beat reporter would post something like that on Twitter. Is really just my eyes almost fell out of the back of my head because I rolled them so hard. There's no excuses this time, though.
No.
If the Mavs somehow find a way to lose this matchup, there's no excuses. This team is built to beat a team like the Clippers. So
yeah, they're fully healthy. The best team during the Luka era, best defense during the Luka era. Luka has his best current teammate in his tenure in Dallas, and they have the most balanced roster where there's not any holes anywhere on the team. You could say 3-point shooting, but if you take into account that Luka and Kyrie are both 39 to 42% 3-point shooters on high volume, that's enough in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, you have them.
And you're about to see Maxi Kleba playoff mode.
Turned Iron Man version.
That's just what you expect now, right? So with that being said, we both think the Mavs advance past the Clippers. Looking into the future, but not too far in the future, who do you think the second round opponent for this Mavs team is going to be?
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah,
I don't see with the Pelicans losing in the play-in game to the Lakers and moving back to possibly being eighth. I could see them possibly upsetting the Thunder prior to Zion Williamson being out for a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
he's going to miss probably at least the first 4 games if the Pelicans made it to the next round. And then if it's not the Pelicans, it's a Kings team that is missing 2 of their best non-star role players in Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. And they just don't have the guns to go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think either of those series would be a sweep in the Thunder's favor. Maybe one game either way. Well, with Zion, a healthy Zion for 7 games, I think the Pelicans could extend it to 6 or 7 and possibly win it in 7. But I don't see with the injuries and everything.
Yeah,
I think it's a sweep, maybe 5 games for either of the 2 matchups.
Yeah. Well, so I do also think the Thunder make it through to this next round, and it'll be probably Mavs Thunder. And that'll be an interesting matchup. We'll have to get into that a little bit later. I do want to see how everybody plays now that the playoffs, now that bright light is turned on, especially that Thunder squad. I'm very interested to see how they look. I correct me if I'm wrong. I think they probably have the least amount of playoff experience in that's
Possibly
currently in the playoffs. It maybe ever. I don't know.
Gordon Hayward has a good amount.
Oh, that does.
And then Shea, he has but Gordon's not really in the normal rotation. I don't think he'll probably crack their playoff rotation. And Shea, he had, I think, 1, maybe 2 series with the Clippers in his rookie year, maybe just 1. And I think he has less than 10 games experience. Yeah, so you can't really count that much. And that's whenever he was, not the number 1 player on the Clippers. So, they don't have any kind of battle testing. They're not even like the Timberwolves where, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns has been through a couple of series. Mike Conley has been through a lot. They have the blend of the youth and the veteran leadership, where Oklahoma City, it's a lot like those young Thunder teams back in the early 2010s with KD, Harden, and Russ, where they didn't have, I don't think, really had any veteran leadership on that team that had deep playoff experience. So it's a lot of the same there. I
would be interested to see, in the grand scheme of things, like in historically speaking, where they rank on going into this playoffs for experience, because with the exception of, like you said, Gordon Hayward, everybody on that team is pretty young. We'll have to pitch in and look at their March Madness stats instead of their playoff stats, because maybe that'll be more helpful, but I don't even think then. But it would. We will. We'll be back soon to hopefully talk about how the Mavericks just bludgeoned the Clippers in the first couple of games, but and then we'll figure out what we're going to talk about for round 2 soon, I think.
Spoiler alert, I'm predicting 16-1.
16-1. Oh, well, I guess you have to do at least 1, because you did say in 5. So
yeah.
It's pretty impressive that they just get better, though, in your mind. Like they beat even better teams and sweep.
They're gonna have that 1 loss and figure out that they never want to lose again.
Well, I'm gonna print those Mavs in 16 shirts. I know I predicted
Mavs in 5,
but I'm gonna just print out the Mavs in 16 shirts and see how well they get to. I am the F the first round guy after all, so I figure every year I have to make some kind of shirt for the Mavs fans to enjoy. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody that took the time to watch our first podcast on video instead of just audio. We've been doing audio for 2 seasons now, so hopefully this doesn't scare you away too much, or that pretty face just doesn't. You can pay attention a little bit, even instead of just staring into his eyes. That's why we didn't get him a better camera, honestly, because
I'm just too dreamy.
It's just too pretty.
Have to have these shadows to keep away from.
If we got him in HD, I don't think you'd be able to handle it. But we will see you next
Hardaway
week.
Jr. has nothing on me.
Oh, well. In what category, sir? In what category? See you guys next week. Bye.